who will have a big impact in Ohio State versus Clemson? Now, this is specific players, and I'm going to pull up the Sugar Bowl offensive depth charts. Might be a little bit blurry. I pulled it off of Google, but we'll go through it. So here's the depth charts, and it looks a little bit different from a year ago. A lot different, actually. But I'll run through it real quick. Just the starters, as you can see on the screen. Left tackle, Jackson Carman. Left guard, Mac Bockhorst. Center, Cade Stewart. Right guard, Will Putnam. Right tackle, Jordan McFadden. All look similar there to what Clemson's had all year. Tight end, Braden Galloway. Wide receiver, Cornell Powell. Quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. Running back, Travis Etienne. Wide receiver, Amari Rogers. Wide receiver, E.J. Williams. As you can see there for the wide receivers. Frank Ladson is listed as a backup there. No Joseph Ngata. I see on the screen. Do have Brandon Spector there as well. And a Joe. Will Brown, Will Sweeney as backups there as well. On the Ohio State side, Thayer Munford, left tackle to right tackle. Thayer Munford, Harry Miller, Josh Myers, Wyatt Davis, Nicholas Petit-Fier, and tight end Luke Farrell. Wide receiver Chris Olave, Julian Fleming backing him up. By the way, you guys remember Julian Fleming. We looked into him in the recruiting trail. Clemson was really pushing for him, 5-star guy, freshman, true freshman there. So backup number 4. Quarterback, Justin Fields. By the way, there's your backups. Gunnar Hoke, Jack Miller, C.J. Stroud. And then you've got running back Master Teague the third as their starting running back, but you got Trey Sermon. Don't forget about him right behind him. Wide receiver Jameson Williams, and then Garrett Wilson up there on the screen. So, guys, any of those guys on offense, we'll stick to just offense. You let us know in the chat what you think. Any of those guys that you think will be the biggest impact for Clemson and Ohio State on offense. I'll start with you, Alan.
So as far as Clemson's concerned, I think, man, gosh, you could pick anybody. I'm going to go with Cornell Powell here as one of my guys. I think it's about time he has another one of those monstrous games that he was having when he had like 2 or 3 in a row earlier in the season. You know, Amari Rogers, you kind of know what you get from Amari. He's always there every game. I feel like they're gonna do their best to kind of take him away, and I think it's time for Powell to shine, make some one-on-one plays. And look, he's done it. He's done it this year. It's been fantastic to really see him come out of his shell, be the guy we expected him to be when we recruited him. So I'm really looking for him to have an impact this game. I also like E.J. Williams for Clemson as well. You know, he showed a little bit last week. He did drop one pass that, you know, could have been a first down near the goal line. We had to kick a field goal. But I look for E.J. Williams to only get better. I mean, he's gonna get better in the weight room, you know, with a year in the offseason and whatnot. So he's gonna be really good. He's done a good job as a freshman. You know, stepping up when we have all these receivers out. It's been kind of a crazy year. But as far as Ohio State concerned, I think Olave's the guy. I think he's their guy on offense. I think he's the receiver you got to watch out for. He was the one they were gunning for last time when they when Nolan Turner picked him off in the end zone. You know, they were just not on the same page. But he's the guy they were looking for, and he's made some plays. I talked about him being similar to a Zay Flowers for Boston College last week. I think they're a similar type receiver, very dynamic, makes plays. That's what they do, and they almost do it every game. They're very consistent. And Olave should be healthy. He's been off for the past couple of weeks for COVID protocols, and now that he gets back early, I'm sure he's going to be ready to rock and roll.
Yep. For Clemson, you stole mine. I was going to say E.J. Williams, but fear not, I have some others. I think the year has been building for a big game for the combination of Braden Galloway and Davis Allen. Mm-hmm. We've utilized the tight end just enough to people say, man, we should utilize the tight end more. Yeah. Now we're in the playoffs, and I think they're going to do that. If you remember last year, Braden Galloway didn't necessarily have a ton of receptions against Ohio State. I don't know if he was able to be back for that, but I know his presence was known early in that national championship game, and then we strayed away from him for some reason with that early pass over the middle to Braden Galloway in the national championship game last year. I think they're going to be throwing to the tight ends and also to E.J. Williams as well. They're going to be trying to cover Cornell Powell and Amari Rogers, but I think you'll have some shots over the middle, and that pass defense for Ohio State is rough. So I think you'll have opportunities there. And then for Ohio State, it goes back to their wide receivers. Both Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are holdovers from last year. Julian Fleming is a Justin Ross receiver type that they'll have coming back as well. So, if Clemson's able to make Ohio State one-dimensional and take away the run game, it's not a done deal. They have 3 talented wide receivers, and our secondary does have some issues. However, making Ohio State one-dimensional will always be a problem. Anytime you do that, it's a problem. But those three wide receivers are very capable, and I look for them to try to get them the ball early and often.
Yeah, for me, I think for Clemson, on the Clemson side of the ball, I'm going to steal this one from Expose on YouTube. I'm really looking to Amari Rodgers. I think that they can expose the fact there's no Damon Arnett, the fact there's no Jeffrey Okudah. There's those guys that are gone. Now, there still is Sean Wade, but he's got to be guarding somebody else. And they can move Amari Rodgers around the field. And Amari showed, man, I watched the Fiesta Bowl on ACC Network. I tweeted about it over the weekend. And with less than 2 minutes to go, the connection that Trevor Lawrence had with Amari Rodgers was just so beautiful. I mean, it brought them one play and yard after the catch. Amari Rodgers' X factor is the fact that you cannot tackle him around the legs. He will bounce off of you. He is a Travis Etienne type. Try to hit him on the hips, try to hit them around the legs, and he is going to get off of you. You have to actually wrap him up. And he is just so hard to tackle. He's so good at bouncing out to the outside, getting yards after the catch. In that final drive, that game-winning drive, that go-ahead drive, Amari Rodgers had a huge catch and yard after the catch to get within field goal range, and it was kind of a sigh of relief, like, okay, great. As long as BT Potter doesn't screw this up. Well, thankfully, like 1 or 2 plays later, Travis Etienne just waltzed right into the end zone on a screen-type play to the left side. And so it really opens up the rest of the game when you have Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne doing good, but you also cannot forget about the key guy in that veteran guy in Amari Rodgers. I want to see him do great. We know that it's almost the time, he's almost done. He's going to be leaving. These guys are going to be no longer Clemson Tigers after this. It's going to be a huge game for these guys. I look for them to take it very serious and to be on the same page with those two. Anybody you can be on the same page with, it's Trevor Lawrence, the one of the best player on the field. And I think Amari Rodgers is going to benefit from that and his skill to break tackles. So I like to see Amari Rodgers on that side. But again, I have Trevor Lawrence, Amari Rodgers, Travis Etienne on the offensive side. Those two guys go hand in hand. If Trevor's doing great in the running game, Travis is going to also do great in the running game, and they're just going to kill you that way too. I don't see much different from what happened in the Fiesta Bowl. I think Clemson can still get going quickly. Hopefully they get going more quickly than they did last year in the 16-0 start. I think that they should probably do better than that. On the Ohio State side, I keep going back to Olave and Justin Fields and that connection there. I think that Olave is as Ryan Day said, 4 days without really eating a solid meal because he was so upset about taking the wrong route. That's going to be in his mind. He's going to be wanting to do better, wanting to prove to the nation that he can be on the same page with Justin Fields. Justin Fields on the other end, wanting to prove that he can get over the hump and beat Trevor Lawrence head-to-head. And so I look to see that matchup there too. But again, the running game as well, and we'll talk about that in my second question because they're not the scariest players that I have. But we'll get into that after we go through the defense real quick. Let's get on the defense. Let me pull this up real quick. All right, so on the defense, you've got, on Clemson's defense, KJ Henry, Justin Maskell sharing the defensive end. You got Tyler Davis, defensive tackle, Brian Bresee, Jordan Williams, and Niles Pickney, a defensive tackle, Miles Murphy, defensive end, Mike Jones Jr., James Skalski, Balin Spector at linebacker, DK and Mario Goodrich, cornerback, Landon Zanders, Nolan Turner, Sheridan Jones, Andrew Booth at cornerback there. A lot of sharing time there on the defensive line and on the cornerback side of things. On the Ohio State side of things, you got Jonathan Cooper at left end, Tommy Tagai, I want to say, defensive tackle, Haskell Garrett, defensive tackle, Tyreek Smith, right end, Pete Werner, big time guy, senior guy there. Tuff Borland, great name, by the way, middle linebacker, Tuff Borland. Baron Browning, a 5-star SLB there. Sean Wade, we know, the guy that had the targeting last year. He's real bitter about what happened last year, getting kicked out of the game. He wants to know he wants to prove to the nation what he can do as well. Marcus Williamson, who's taken over at cornerback, and Sevin Banks, who's also taken over for cornerback for two guys that went high in the NFL draft, and then Marcus Hooker there for strong safety. I have the Ohio State special teams, but it was kind of misaligned there. I didn't mean to put them up there. But again, that's the Clemson defense and the Ohio State offense. I'll start with Houston this time. Anybody on those two squads that stick out to you as impact players that fans should watch out for?
I'm always going to say for Clemson, Tyler Davis since his return. Ever since his return from the to the Pittsburgh game, Clemson looks different. They play different with Tyler Davis on the field. They're a more complete defense. You see what they look like versus Notre Dame without Tyler Davis and with him. And it's two completely different ball games. It's not just Trevor Lawrence, but that defense. Skalski and a lot of other players, but Tyler Davis is the anchor of that defensive line, along with Brzee. It frees Brzee up a lot, and you have a more developed Brian Brzee to be able to do what he can do with Tyler Davis. I think he's the most dangerous player on that defense. I think for Ohio State, I'll say Baron Browning. He's the most athletic, freakish player on that defense and can cause a lot of havoc. Shaun Wade's very talented too. And Tuff Borland's a very good linebacker. But nobody on that defense, ever since losing Chase Young, really jumps out at me and scares me. Chase Young had that Jadeveon Clowney factor where he's in the backfield or at least is going to cause problems for whoever is the offensive lineman matched up with him. I don't see anybody like that on this defense. It's actually quite opposite this year to what they had. But if I had to pick one, I'll pick Baron Browning.
Yeah, I'm taking Shaun Wade. Houston mentioned him. Morgan mentioned him earlier about he got the targeting penalty last year. He's going to be ready to rock and roll. He's got some amends to make for this game. He's going to be hot and ready to go. So I'm definitely picking Shaun Wade for Ohio State, and for Clemson, I'm taking Skalski. Houston, we've been talking about Tyler Davis and his impact all year, and you're 100% right. It's just amazing what he does for that line. Skalski, they like to call him the quarterback of the defense. They call him that for a reason. He's getting everybody lined up. He's figuring out the play. He's so good at diagnosing plays and getting after it. Man, he had a great game against Notre Dame. He was blitzing in there like crazy. Kirk Herbstreit was calling him a maniac or something like that. It was a lot of fun to listen to them talk about him because he has such a huge impact. And you could tell when he was out of the game, when he was hurt, you could tell the drop off, and it was huge, without a doubt. But Skalski is going to be huge in this game. I think he's kind of our impact guy. You could go with several players for sure, but he's the guy I'm riding with this time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys as well. I'm looking at the list here, and some people are talking about what is the comparison between last year and this year. Clemson actually has more players to replace from last year than Ohio State does, but Ohio State has some key players that were high first round draft picks, second round guys, third round guys in that secondary. And again, Chase Young, defensive tackle, defensive end, they don't have a replacement for him, which makes me feel great. But they do have, I believe, a all Big Ten player in, I had it up just real quick. Let me see. In Haskell Garrett, he was one of their all Big Ten players there. So you got to be careful with him on that defensive line. So when I look at it, that's what I'm saying is another guy that keeps sticking out to me is Baron Browning. I don't think he did as well last year against Travis Etienne. Etienne got in space and blew by him. This is a 5-star guy, 6'3", 240, graduate now. You don't see many 5-star graduates sticking around, but strong side linebacker, I want to see the battle between Browning and Travis Etienne. Can Travis expose him again? Because there were plenty of times where I saw Etienne getting into the end zone and Browning was sucking wind. Number 5 on the defense there for Ohio State. So I'm looking at him to see what he can do. And then again, Haskell Garrett. Some people in the chat are also saying Garrett as well. So keep a lookout for those two guys and how they can do. Again, Pete Werner, again, another Big Ten guy, all Big Ten guy, their leader on their defense. And Browning also has been having some issues with COVID as well. I'm interested to see what he can do. He didn't play the last game. I'm interested to see how he'll be coming into this game. On Clemson's side, I agree with Alan. Skalski, just the difference that him and Tyler Davis had in Notre Dame round 1 versus Notre Dame round 2. They've got to be on your list. They've got to be guys to watch out for. I am curious to see what the cornerbacks can do against Chris Olave and you said Garrett Wilson, right, Houston? So I'm interested to see what the cornerbacks can do. I am a little bit concerned about Joseph Charleston. How is he going to do if he's replacing, Nolan Turner? By the way, that secondary last year was DK, A.J. Terrell, Kayvon Wallace, and Tanner Muse. It's a big difference this year. Big change. So a lot of new faces out there. Turner won't be there until at the second half because of that targeting call. But so Joseph Charleston's going to have to step up. So you got some youngsters there. And then Landon Zanders, we'll see what he can do in a big-time game. This will be his first playoff appearance, I believe, as well. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what he can do as a starter on that defense. Let me know what you think. Big Mick says he thinks that Malcolm Green's going to be at safety and going to be lighting it up as well. Again, Green's stock has been going through the roof there as well.